So she'll say something and I'll have some sort of jerk response, and then I'll realize usually later than I should have that it was stupid. And I'll say, hey, Melissa, can I have a do-over? And she's like, fine. And I'm like, ask me again. And she'll ask me the question again, and then I'll respond the way I should have.
Welcome to Our Family Invests, the podcast where successful couples come together to share their inspiring stories of balancing family, life, and business. We're Mike and Caroline Neubauer, husband and wife entrepreneurs striving to live our best lives with our family at the center. This podcast celebrates the couples who inspire us, invest in each other, and raise those around them to the next level. Join us as we explore their challenges and victories. Let's learn, share, and grow together. Today's guests are Peter and Melissa Awad, parents of 4 lifelong adventurers and a powerhouse entrepreneurial couple who have built a life centered around faith, family, and freedom. Peter is a 5-time founder who recently exited his latest company to pursue his newest endeavor, Whitestone Coaching, an executive coaching program for Christian businessmen. Together, he and Melissa have traveled 30,000 miles in a Class B RV with their 4 kids, running a business, homeschooling, and somehow still liking each other at the end of it. Melissa is the calm in the storm, an experienced project manager, business owner, and dedicated mom. Through honest communication, radical candor, and unwavering faith, they've learned to integrate ambition with presence. Their journey is one of grit, growth, and grace, and we're so excited to welcome them to the podcast.
I love it.
All right, you
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you guys here. There's so much to unpack there, right? But first, I want to know, who are you beneath it all? And I want you to answer for each other. So I'll ask Melissa first. If you were to strip away all the accolades, all the successes, who is Peter on a Saturday morning?
I would say Peter is the rock, first and foremost. And I would say that Peter is a servant. He serves our family so well, and he is the rock for our family. And he's just here for us first and foremost. That's truly where his heart is for our family and our community and our friends who are like family.
Love that. Peter, who is Melissa?
How do I go after that? It's interesting because servant is the word that comes to mind to me because, I think that half our arguments are about her being just too kind to everybody around us and especially the kids. But you got to be harder on them. And so she's always looking out for them. She is last. And it's interesting because she is always looking out for the health of the family, the happiness of the family, the success of the kids. And that's what she wakes up thinking about. That's what she goes to bed thinking about.
That's so cool.
That's true.
So great.
We do fight about who's last on the totem pole in our home.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm last on the totem pole. No, I'm last.
I think I just realized we're both last, which is interesting. So it's good. Thanks for that, guys. It's a good therapy session so far.
Yeah. At least it's not back in the day where you all shared a bathtub.
Yeah.
That would be a little more, you would probably want to move a little up the totem pole.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it'd be all cold and dirty at the end.
Guys, I want to jump into your origin story because I know you met in the Bahamas on a spring break, and I know it was predicted. Okay, so Can you share that story with us? Because that's super cool.
Yeah. Man, do you want to share this?
No, you share it because the prediction came from your side.
It did.
And I haven't actually thought about this in a really long time.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah. So usually I say, hey, we met on vacation because spring break has a negative connotation. However, whatever you just envisioned is probably accurate. So there's that.
I was there with a group of my friends. He was there with a group of his friends.
Yeah.
We were at the same hotel. Same
hotel, Bahamas. This is college. And the prediction's interesting because, I'm in college. I studied locally, stayed at home for most of the time.
In Florida,
UCF, packing for the trip. And I come home to my parents' house, and there's a random guy there. He's like the boyfriend of the banker that my parents used for their little grocery store. And he's like, hey, you're Peter. Could you come over here and talk to me? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I hear you going to the Bahamas. I said, yeah. I'd never met this guy before. I'd never seen him since, actually. And he said, you're going to meet your wife there.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought,
how did that make you feel?
That's a little intense.
I thought he was insane because I'm like, hey, dude, this is spring break, bro. I'm not meeting wife there. And sure enough, day 2 at 2:00 in the morning, I'm leaving a nightclub or some random dirty place. And I just see this girl, and we hung out by the pool till like the sun came up, just chatting about life and things. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then from that moment on, she lived in Iowa, I lived in Orlando, and we talked every single day. And you came and visited me every 6 weeks, or I was up in Iowa every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And
long distance for 2 years.
2 years, and she graduated before me, even though I was a year older, if that tells you anything. And
we were 19 and 20
when we met.
Or you were still 19 too?
I was 20.
Okay.
Yep. And proposed and got married and lived in Florida for our first few years of marriage.
Yeah.
Melissa, what made you even talk to Peter on spring break and just like strike up that deep conversation at 2 a.m?
It was funny because I don't know if it was 2 a.m. I mean, I know we talked till 2 a.m, but a lot of my friends, so I'm from Iowa, and I think the basketball games or something was on during that time. And so all of the friends that I came with were like watching sports. And I was just kind of like wandering, like just sitting around. And then him and his group of guys walked by and they were talking to me. And I was like, don't talk to me. Leave me alone. But then Peter was really nice. And so we ended up talking. And,
Nice.
yeah, and connecting.
It's
I guess.
been a pretty good conversation. What is something small or seemingly ordinary about your partner that brings you quiet joy?
Well, this is actually funny because this has come up recently. And one of my friends was kind of talking to us, Peter and I, and he was asking me, like, hey, let's learn something new together. Like, let's go skateboarding. Well, he's already learned to skateboard, but I do not. And she was like, and I was like, automatically, I was like, no, I don't want to learn to skateboard. Let's think of something else. And she was like, I think it's so sweet that your husband still wants to date you. And I never thought of it. And Peter was like, I do. Like, that's what we're doing. And it was really sweet.
Love
so
that.
I think that's after being together
Almost 21 years.
20 years, almost married, almost 21 years, but together like 23 years. It's sweet that he still wants to date me.
Yeah. What about for you, Peter?
Man, there's so many things. You said gives me joy. That was the question, Carolyn.
Just something simple about her that maybe other people don't recognize, but you see it,
Yeah. Just watching her with the kids, like there was a memory popped up on social media. I think it was from 2 years ago. And it was just like me stepping downstairs because I work from home and seeing her in the trampoline with the kids. Just they were like laying there in the sun reading a book, and then our bunny for some reason is in there and he's hopping around, and the post was just like, this is it, right? Like this is it. And I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday. I'm like, man, there's moments when you're like, oh, this is a snapshot of the good old days, but you're living it in real time.
I love that.
So just like those glimpses of just her playfulness with the kids, taking the time to bring memories to the situation when I probably would just like fast forward through everything. It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
So speaking of the good old days, I want to touch on this 30,000 miles in a Class B RV. Okay. And I'm mentioning Class B because I had to look that up. And a Class B RV is not what I thought of when I was thinking an RV. It's like a BMW 7 Series. Like it's not a lot bigger, right? 18 to 24 feet. That's a van.
Yeah.
It was a van.
A family of 4. You homeschooled,
6.
you ran a business, and you went 30,000 miles in one of these things. Like, how did that work out?
Kids.
And was that by choice or by necessity?
Choice. That's how just shows you how insane we are. It's funny that the Class B is really hilarious because as we were shopping for this van, and this is like before van life was cool and there was like overlanding and none of these parts even existed. This was in 16 or 17. I can't remember. We're shopping for this van, and the second dealership we're at, Melissa's like, you got to stop telling them we have kids. And I'm like, why? She's like,
we have kids.
There's several sales guys wouldn't even sell us one. They're like, this is made for 2 people. You cannot, there's 6 people will not fit in this. You're insane. It wouldn't even show them to me. Right.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped telling people we had kids. I'm like, yeah, it's for my wife and I, because they just thought it was the dumbest people. We were the dumbest people ever. But it was cool, man. It was, the biggest, tallest Sprinter they make, but still small for 6 people.
Yeah.
And it was really, really neat because we had to be with each other. It was close quarters. You couldn't just run away from arguments. And so it taught us, I mean, it drew us nearer and it taught us to communicate better as a couple, but also as a family, because we're just, I mean, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Right? A campsite or you're in the van, like, bro, you better figure it out because you can't run away. There's no stomping off and being upset.
Yeah. And
Were
the
the
thing
ki-
is,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was just asking if the kids were on board with this when they probably you guys talked about the idea, but then you showed them what you were going to be traveling in.
Well, so
They didn't know what they were getting
I'm
into.
gonna back up a minute because Peter and I, we lived when we first got married, I moved to Florida. And so we lived there for 4 years. And when we were pregnant with our first daughter, we moved back up to Iowa to this small little town in the Northeast near my family. And after the first winter, Peter was like, no, nope. That was like negative 40 degrees. I mean, we're like Wisconsin, Minnesota, like
Hold on.
tiny little.
Pause for a second. Pause for a second. I want you to hear what it was negative 43 with the wind chill. I didn't know it got that cold on Earth anywhere, unless maybe I moved to Siberia. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So we started deciding, like, Peter had flexibility with his work. And so we were like, we're going to snowbird. So we started leaving in the winters, and for the first 4 winters we would go down to Florida. We have really good friends in the Cayman Islands, so we went down there. So that was our first 4 years. And then so the first time we went, we just had one, and then as we started having more kids, we'd take them along. And then we decided we wanted to see more of the United States. And so that's when we decided. And the kids were older. I think the youngest was 2.5 maybe at the time. So we had already been traveling a lot and flying or driving to places, and then Airbnb. And then we just decided, oh, this will make the trip so much more fun if we get a Sprinter van. But it, it was like had a bathroom and a little kitchenette. But the thing is about traveling like that is that, yes, we have to communicate well and be together, but it is the only thing that we think about is the next spot. We weren't like major planners, or we didn't have all these things lined up ahead of time. We were just, what's the next thing? Like living in the present moment so much. And then what's the next thing? And it's also the level of adaptability that was learned by the children. It was amazing. They just adapted to every environment, adapted. Like they were like 8 hours. That's nothing,
That's
And we really did minimal technology too. So there was a lot of singing, a lot of songwriting, a lot of chatting, a lot of podcasts, a lot of learning. And it was a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. Last thing on that too, and then we'll get back to questions. But I think that the number one benefit for the kids was learning how to be the new kid.
Yeah.
And so new church or new playground, or they were just like the new kid, no matter where we popped into. And they learned how to like have small talk, how to inject themselves in conversation, how to like ask people to play. And it was just really fascinating. And I think it added quite a bit of confidence for them to be able to look people in the eye and have conversation. We've had several parents, and especially like older folks, that are like, hey, your kids are different. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, they look me in the eye and they ask me how I'm doing and they wait for a response. It's very strange. And I'm like, I know. And I think I just think it was from all of that travel. They just learned how to. And then Brighton, our third child, our second daughter, I remember saying, hey, you do a really good job just, making friends where we go. She's like, it's easy. I think she was 4. She's like, I just ask people to play. And I said, will you be my friend? And they say, okay, it's easy. And I'm like,
I love that.
yeah.
Love that.
But
That's
we
awesome.
weren't living in it full time. So it actually was more like a catalyst to friendships and relationships. So we've built so many close relationships because when you are like, hey, can we park in your driveway?
Yeah.
And then you get to spend time with people all over the country that you wouldn't normally get to be with.
Yeah.
As much.
True.
That's amazing. I mean, I can only imagine, like you said, the growth that you've probably seen from your kids from when you started doing that, because of, what you mentioned, Peter, is like they're forced into these new situations. So it's like either make friends or go hang out in the van.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they have each other too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
All right. So Peter, let's talk business. You are a serial entrepreneur with some pretty serious successes. What does it feel like to take a company from idea to exit? And what were some of the toughest decisions you had to make along the way?
Man, what a roller coaster. I think it's really, really fun to see something come to fruition. Like I'm a kind of a almost obsessive starter. I think it's just fun to have something that was in your mind that just like comes out on paper and it makes it out into the world. Like that is just such an exciting thing. And so I love that part. There's always the messy middle of like, oh shoot, this is just work today. Like, dude, this is not fun. This is not Instagrammable. This sucks. Right. And that I think that is very, very difficult for me, selling this last company. It's really sweet to know that someone sees enough value in something that you have built, and I built that with a co-founder that they want to actually buy from you. Like it's worth something. And that's a cool feeling. It's also very surreal to hand it over. I was sitting, I still remember we were visiting my sister-in-law up in LA. And it was just like last bit of transfer over. And I logged off this call. And Melissa's like, what's going on? I was like, I don't have my email anymore.
Wow.
I'm like, my email's gone. This is freaking weird. And it's a bizarre feeling, man. But it's one of these things where, as entrepreneurs, you know, employees quit all the time. Our jobs end, they get fired or laid off or whatever, companies close down. And that seems to be acceptable. But man, as a founder, to be done with a project feels just not right. It feels unacceptable. And it's a really, really weird thing. But for chapters to close and new ones to open, I think it's one of those things you have to get over and then realize like, man, it is liberating to be able to like start a project, see it to fruition, somebody buys it, and then you get to start something new and reinvent yourself and try new things. You're gonna say something?
I was just going to say that it feels like there's a grief in it all that you have to acknowledge and in every season. And so you can move forward and start new things.
Almost a period of mourning.
Yeah. Because it's a celebration of the next season, but it's a loss too. That's where the grief comes in. So it's always both and there,
Yeah.
Well, you just reminded me, Melissa, about like you experienced this more than I did because you had to make the babies, but incubate the babies,
grow them.
the baby. Not making the babies. That's a different podcast.
We'll get to that later.
Different one.
But grieving like the end of a season of like, okay, we're not going to have any more babies. Like there's not going to be a birth cycle anymore. There's not going to be that period of like newness. And that seems very similar, actually. I never thought of it. Yeah, like the ending of that season. And it's a beautiful next season, but like the completeness of a previous season, it's like, oh, okay, we're not going to do that again. It's a really weird feeling. And I think selling the business actually was very, very similar to that.
Yeah.
What did your first, like you started several businesses that you've taken to the next level. What was your first real business win? And what did that feel like? Because you're grinding, and then maybe it's that first sale or something like when you knew like, wow, we got something here. And what did that feel like?
You're taking me back to the first business, and that was in college, and that was e-com as well. And it was like an accidental business. And a lot of us have found themselves here where it's like, wait a minute, my gosh, this is a thing, And so I just remember, I'll tell you guys a really quick story I've been told in a very long time. And I started selling auto parts. This was on eBay. This is in year 2000. So I'm dating myself, and I didn't have any money. And I remember I was peddling these products to friends, and I was like, I don't know, man. I think I could sell this on eBay maybe. And so I was listing products I didn't own. So I would put products up that I had not taken any ownership of. And then I would make the sale, and then I would rush over to the supply house, to the supplier, and pick them up. And this is like in between class and college. And then I would pull into this parking lot. It was mailbox, et cetera. It wasn't even UPS store at the time. In my trunk was a shipping center, man. It was tape and packing peanuts and boxes, and then the labels that I had printed on the school printer. Thank you, UCF. And then I would pack them up and ship them out. And I just remember how exciting it was when it was like, dude, oh my gosh, this is a thing. And then seeing real money hit your bank account and it start to stockpile. And I remember my parents were like, what is it? What is it? What is all this stuff? I was still at my parents' house. They're like, what is this crap everywhere? And then I ended up taking a bedroom and converting it to an office. My mom's like, what's going on in here? I'm like, Mom, I don't know. I'm making money, dude. And it was just crazy. And so I just remember that feeling of just like, oh my gosh, this is actually turning into something. And it was cool because the grind, the hours I was putting in didn't feel like a grind. So I'd be going to school full time as an engineer, and I had a 20-hour a week internship. And then I would ship packages and answer emails from like 11 p.m. to like 3 a.m. And I actually gave a key to a storage unit to the UPS guy because I was never there for pickups.
Wow.
Right. So that's when I moved out of my parents' place. This is in an apartment. But it was just such a fun feeling, again, to create something and then somebody wants it. And then to see it catching momentum. I think the hurdle for most founders is like, again, it's like you have that initial spike, but then it becomes real work. And then that's when you realize, like, we have to decide, like, am I actually into this, or was this an exciting idea?
Right. Hey family, real quick. If you would prefer to watch your content, head on over to Our Family Invests on YouTube. You can watch this podcast and more over there. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon too to make sure you never miss an episode. And now, back to the show. Right. Yeah. But I love that lift off. How do you support each other's growth?
How do we support each other's growth? I think that we really make space for personal growth, I guess. So if he's like, I need to take some time, then I never question it. I'm like, I know that he's only going to ask for what he really needs. He's not trying to escape. And I feel like that's probably the same for me, although I don't ask for time as much. I'm more like get exasperated. I'm like, I need to have a minute to work. And we actually also like support each other in further education, like taking classes and learning. And we do it together a lot.
Yeah.
So that's really great.
Yeah, like we're going through a coaching program together right now on identity. And man, it's so cool. Like, I mean, and it's acknowledging, like, for listeners there that have smaller kids, like, there are seasons. I think that, when the kids are smaller, sometimes you can try to shoehorn in like, oh, well, these other people are doing this thing. It's like, no, when the kids were younger, we were just joking the other day. I'm like, man, we're sitting around like watching these coaching videos and taking time to like to journal. And I'm like, Saturday morning. Yeah. Saturday mornings used to be absolute chaos. Yeah. There was no time for that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so there are seasons for things, right? And so we're in a season now where the kids are a little older. We have 3 teenagers in the house and one that seems like an old man, like he came out like 40 years old. But so there's just time in the morning and there's time on Saturday mornings. Yeah. And so going through coaching together, it's such a beautiful thing, you guys, because you're like, dude, like, we're still digging in on things and we're still excited to grow and expand our knowledge, and we never get to arrive, right? And so we're just like, it's all progress and process. And so, yeah, I think that because I would say neither one of us is very selfish. I'm probably more selfish than you are. We just know, like, man, if we're asking for time, that means we
really need it.
Yeah, we need it. We're hitting a rev limiter.
But also we have like a team mentality. So there'll definitely be moments where I'm just, both where we'll just be like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I'm going to take over, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I feel like we really support each other in that. And we don't really, like, I guess, shame each other for needing that too, because like we're both human, and even though I think we just acknowledge that we're both trying really hard.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's good. I feel like a lot of this stuff comes back to entrepreneurship, right? Like you're treating your businesses like a marriage, your marriage like a business. Like there's so much crossover there. Mm. But I want to talk on the business side of things, being a serial entrepreneur, Peter, and I know you've had great successes, but you've also had some failures too, right? And for me, I've had a lot of failures and very few successes. But when do you know when it's time to just kind of pull the plug on an idea?
There's been some moments where several where I'll look at Melissa, I'm like, I'm out. or we're done with this. And, for us as people of faith, it's like really leaning in and asking God, like, what do you want me to do with this? And there's two things that I'll leave here. One is one of my favorite business quotes is strong opinions loosely held. And I think it's an Andrew Easton quote. I can't remember. So having a really, really strong conviction that you're doing the right thing, but being willing to be wrong. And I pair that with a prayer, which is, Lord, what do you want me to know? And what do you want me to do? And those two things together, it's like, hey, I'm a driver. We're a couple of bullheaded people in the house that really, really have strong opinions, man. Like we know what we want. And that's true, right? But it's also being willing to be wrong, and it's also being willing to be corrected. And so it's like constantly tuning in every morning and just being like, God, I have my plan, but is this what you want for me? Is this what you want for my life? Do you want me to ball this up, throw it in the waste bin and start over? I don't like it. I don't want to do it, but I will. And so there have been definitely some moments, man. I just one very vivid, a company that was kind of walking wounded. We had a lot of strife in co-ownership, me and another partner. This is 10 years ago now. And it was one of our first visits to Dana Point here where we are. And I'm walking down PCH and I'm reading a book. And I was just like, I stopped. I remember like middle of the sidewalk. I was like, oh, I have to be done. This is over.
Wow.
And we got back into town and I sat my co-founder down. I said, hey, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? I'm like, this is done. This has run its course. I got to be done. He's like, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know, but I'm not doing this anymore. Because I realized it was robbing from my future self on my next project. And sure enough, about 3 months later, the idea for Mission Meets came and me and my co-founder got together and we made something beautiful happen and we exited that company. But just to me, I think being tied to the mission and vision for the business, but also more importantly, your life and knowing who you are and your identity is so critically important because it makes the difficult decisions simple. Not easy, but simple. Because you're like, wait a minute, this is robbing from who I'm supposed to be. This is robbing from what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. And then you don't need to pull the ripcord like I did. I mean, there's very few moments where I've like been that abrupt. More so it's like, hey, here's a decision. Now we're going to play this out over the next year or two. But more so understanding like, man, this is who God made me. This is the purpose he put in me when I was born. It was woven into my DNA in my mother's womb. And this is robbing from my future self and my purpose and what I was put on this earth to do. I'm going to be done.
And I'll just add again that
you always can.
I know, I always do. That you sought so much wisdom outside of himself before you make big decisions on when to pull the plug or when to move on or making big decisions for our family. There's always a lot of, seeking wisdom from people who are way smarter and more experienced than us.
Yeah.
Critical.
Yep.
Yeah.
You both had your share of challenges, both in personal life and business. One being you guys actually came out here to Maui with Windsor after she was recovering. So maybe we can share a little bit about that. But that was definitely a stopping point in your lives where things pivoted, right?
Yeah.
But has there ever been a failure or challenge that has made you question whether it was all going to work out? Is that an example or does anything come to mind?
I've never felt like that because I'm kind of like a glass is always on the full side. But with Windsor, I mean, she was 14 and she had a stroke and we went through so much. I mean, God miraculously healed her completely, full recovery. But also he just brought people into our life that just served us and loved us so well. And the amount of people praying for her, it was so beautiful. What was the other part of your question? I'm sorry.
No, just those moments and obviously a lot of preparation and you guys have built a really amazing foundation to probably help with the faith and the weathering of these storms. But has there been any of those challenges where it's just like, I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't know what to do next. And is our faith going to be enough to just get us through to the next point?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the Lord is always coming through and it feels hard. And I think the scariest part is realizing that even if we do lose a child, or because that's just like the worst nightmare there, that God is always faithful. Just the idea that, we get to see everybody again in heaven. There's just so much hope in that. So I think that we've always remained really, really hopeful, and that everything that happens, the Lord, he makes all things good. And I think that when you're going through hard things like that, like health things that feel out of your control, you have to hold on to those pieces of hope, because I can't imagine going through anything difficult without those tethers.
Yeah.
And I don't know, do you have anything to
Yeah,
add to that?
yeah, that's all true. And I think that your community is
Yeah.
immensely important. And so, I mean, there are so many stories biblically and otherwise where it's like, man, there are times when you can't carry it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And to have support from community that's like, dude, I got it.
Hmm. Yeah.
We'll be there with you.
Yeah.
And so that's my encouragement to anybody going through anything. And I mean, it's like you literally weren't designed to carry the weight on your own.
Hmm.
This is why I usually have a hat here. I'm like looking around. I have a brand called Yoked, which is from Matthew, which is critically important to me as a believer in Jesus, that we are yoked and we can't carry the load. And so the illustration of a yoke is something you would put on two oxen, right? One senior, one junior. And what is a yoke for? For what? It's to train the junior oxen how fast to go, when to stop, when to go. But it also, they put a senior and a junior because the senior oxen carries a disproportionate amount of the weight. And so it's a training tool, but it's also to carry the burden. And so to remember that from your faith, but also with your community will hold your arms up when you can't. And we experience that first and foremost. And so it's like, man, I would love to say my faith never wavered, but it probably wavers 3 out of 7 days a week, right? And if we're being truthful with ourselves, it's like anytime you have doubt, that's a lack of faith.
Yeah.
And what's cool is that you have communities like, no, Mike, dude, no. And they're going to remind you. Carolyn, no, I'm going to tell you, let me give you an example. I just had someone do it to me via text message about 5 minutes before this call. They're like, no, because I said, man, I'm a mess today. They're like, no, God does not create messes. And I'm like, thank you. Right. So just that it's so incredibly important. And so somebody listening, whether you're a Christian or not, I don't really care. You need to have community.
Mm-hmm.
It's so critically important. You have so many lonely people out there trying to carry all the weight of the world, and you can't do it. Sorry. I don't care how strong you are. It ain't happening. Right. You need to surround yourself with people that have superpowers that you don't have in order to help you get through those moments that are just really, really tough. And if you're not going through one now, you will. Sorry. It just happens. It's just life.
Yeah.
So life throws you curveballs, and you gotta have that community. It's so important.
Yeah. And even just like staying tight in your marriage when you're going through really hard things, because sometimes, like it's just the perfect time for there to become space or a wedge, or, like you want to go inside, and really you just have to remain with each other first and foremost.
Yeah. I had a friend that lost a child at 9, and my friend was like, dude, how did you because a lot of times marriages don't survive that sort of thing. And he's like, man, how did you guys make it? And he's like, I had to decide. I really lost a kid. I want to lose my spouse too. And so I think that when you're going through hard things, it's so natural for you to isolate and just be like, dude, I gotta I'm just going to isolate. I can't handle this. But those are the moments when you need to draw nearer. You have to. Yep.
You guys have an amazing relationship, and you can tell just by talking to you guys how you're on the same page all the time. And I'm sure that there are times when you need to realign too. But what are some of the routines or habits that you've implemented in daily life that you think have been most impactful on your personal growth?
Personal growth as a married couple? Man, do we have routines like that?
I know. So we're very unregimented in this house. I mean, there's just so many people, but I think that we always laugh together. I think humor is huge. We just every day we just laugh at each other, at ourselves, which leads to humility.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we apologize all the time. That's a habit. That's become a habit.
Yeah.
What else do we do?
Well, so we've had this phrase in our marriage since, I would say, since the first year that we were married. I think you made it up. I think you maybe got it from somewhere else, but we'll look at each other when we know we screwed up.
Mm.
And I'll look at Melissa and be like, "Hey, can I have a do-over?"
Yeah, do over.
And
I
she's
like
like,
that.
"Sure." And I will literally start all over again, like it never happened. Right.
Wow.
So she'll say something and I'll have some sort of jerk response. And then I'll realize, usually later than I should have, that it was stupid. And I'll say, hey, Melissa, can I have a do-over? And she's like, fine. And I'm like, ask me again. And so she'll ask me the question again, and then I'll respond the way I should have. And it's so
Love that.
it is so healing, dude. It sounds completely nutty, but it's just like acknowledging, like, man, I'm an asshole, dude. I should not have talked. Let me do it again, right? And just do it again. It's like take two, like we're on some sort of set or something.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool, man. It's like such a cool discipline. I would like to say she has to use it more than I do, but that's not true.
Was that difficult for you to get to that point? Because I feel like in general, men have a harder time to open up, to apologize. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of a woman perspective. So is that something that you had to cultivate and practice and like Melissa to acknowledge, or did it come really naturally because you just see the greater good?
Completely unnatural to me. There's a phrase we use in our coaching practice from Giant. It's called, first it's the concept of the wall of self-preservation, but the idea is that you walk into a situation with nothing to hide, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. And the majority of the time when you're unwilling to apologize or unwilling to admit that you were wrong, it's one, two, or all three of those things.
Mhm.
Trying to hide something, trying to prove something, trying to keep from losing something. You don't want to lose the argument. You want to prove that you were right, whatever it is. And so when you can drop that wall, apology is so much easier, because you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, that was a dumb way to respond. Or that actually, I thought it was a good idea, but now that you tell it to me that way, that is a stupid idea. I'm not going to do that. And so when you can drop the wall of self-preservation, then it's easier, Carolyn, to apologize. Because then it's like, yeah, I mean, I was wrong. I shouldn't have. Let me try again. And then here's what's cool is that it's cool for us to be able to do it, but man, it's a lot cooler to do it with the kids. Because I don't know about you guys, growing up, I didn't hear a whole lot of apologies. So mom and dad, if you're listening, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, hypothetically speaking. And so going up to the kids and be like, hey, I should not have said that to you that way. Can I try again? You forgive me. It's so cool, dude. It is awesome, actually. Yeah. And I tell you right now, hard to start, but man, it's like a snowball. It catches momentum because it feels really good.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, this feels great.
That is, I've done that a couple of times with our son Nico, where I've said things that I immediately regret saying, and so I apologize and I ask for forgiveness. But the cool thing is there that now he's got the power.
That's right.
So it's up to him to accept or not, I suppose.
Mhm.
But they always accept, right?
Not always.
Because love
Not always right away.
Yeah.
Fair.
And I want to go down that a little bit because I want to know, like, you guys homeschool your kids, and we've been talking about doing that too. And there's so much there, so much that we love and so much that we're scared of. But what has been something that you've been most intentional about teaching to your kids, not just academically, but about life and faith and impact?
Well, first and foremost, I think that just our homeschool has evolved. Every year, every week, every moment is new in homeschooling. It's different for our family because everybody just does it differently, I guess. But we really stress with the kids that you get to take ownership over what you know and what you want to learn. And so they get to pursue things that they're interested in. And there's things where I'm like, oh, but you get to learn this too. But for the most part, they just know that one, learning never stops. It doesn't have to look like you don't have to go to a school to do that. And ownership, they learn a lot about who they are. Like we're going through the identity class, but like with the kids, like they get to go through learning who they are, what their gifts are, So really, we don't actually necessarily stress academics as much as like knowing that there's so much information out there that you can pursue to learn if you so choose. And you get the choice to not do that too. And what does that look like? And what does that feel like? And because that doesn't always feel good either, you know? So they just learn from life experiences. We have so much conversation about what we're reading, what we want to know. We used to keep a list, especially when we were traveling. Anytime that they had a question, we used to just write it down and always come back to it.
Yeah.
So we can investigate it. And a lot of times that would happen at night, you know? And I know that the kids often get asked, well, don't you know about this? And don't you know about that? And how do you know that? You don't go to school. And the kids, it was really funny because my daughter was really young when she was like, Mom, why do kids think they need to go to school to know things? And I was like, well, that's just what culture tells us, you know? So it is actually, homeschooling is such a huge blessing just to be able to have that time, that relationship that we've been able to build with our kids and our family.
Not for everybody. I tell you that right now.
I think it could be for everyone but you have to unlearn everything you think you know about education and learning and
what it needs to look like.
What it needs to look like. You know, if you have this idea that you're creating a school at home, that works beautifully for some people. And some people can't even imagine, like, oh, I have to teach my kid this and this. You would be amazed at what kids learn on their own. They don't need to be told, especially if you can escape timelines. Told you need to know this by this time. Well,
because that's all made up. I want to add one more thing, and to me this is crucial, and I think that typical education, not for everybody, for some people, I'm speaking for myself here, it beats the love of learning out of you. I didn't read for fun until I was almost 30 years old because I thought reading was boring and awful. That's my experience. She loves school. I hated it.
I love school.
And yeah, I hated it so much. Even just stepping into a school right now, it makes my stomach drop. I'm like, you know?
Yeah.
So, but for me, it's so important. I want them to love learning. I want them to the pursuit of knowledge, right? Dig in on whatever you want, because that's what I get to do all day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you guys get to do all day. It's what Melissa gets to do all day. It's like, this is interesting to you. Cool. Go dig in on it. Find out, learn something about it. Go down the rabbit hole. It's awesome.
I do think we teach our kids that you actually never arrive.
Yeah.
You just, that, but you have to pursue living and life, and
yeah.
So I think that's a big one.
Yeah. And our kids have all started businesses except for the little guy. He's on his way.
What are their businesses?
Oh, man.
Well, they've done different things.
Yeah.
As simple as like babysitting and dog walking.
Yeah. To sword making business,
Yes.
to a ring making business, to a slingshot making business.
Oh, he did that.
I walked out of my office the other day as a grown woman on my landing getting her nails done by our youngest daughter.
She's doing nails now.
Doing nails.
Yep.
Wow. What else do we got? I mean, there's so many fun things.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy business.
Oh, nice.
You name it.
Organic cotton candy.
Yep.
No food dye.
No food dye.
Okay, now that Peter reads and both, who are 3 people, books, or places that inspire you?
Or places?
People, books, or places.
Yeah,
you go
it can
first.
be a combination.
Or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
It's a hard one.
My top book right now, I've got several copies on my desk.
I should have gone first.
Sorry. You want to use it? No. You go. You could steal it.
Both do it together.
No, you do it.
Okay.
Okay. Jamie Winship, Living Fearless. It's a book about identity, and it is impactful. It's been so insanely impactful to us as a family.
Yeah.
This is the identity curriculum that kids are going through. We're going through coaching with him right now. Incredibly impactful. Just distilling down your relationship with God in a way where you're like, wait, if they just explained it this way, oh my gosh, this would have been so much better. And so head knowledge is great, but this is more about heart knowledge and then your identity and how you were created and how to discover that. So that's been really, really rad.
Listening, just listening to hear God's voice and knowing what that
looks like
just really receiving the Holy Spirit in that way. Yeah. That's kind of what it's like.
Yeah. You have anything else?
Why is that the only book I can think of right now?
Okay, what about a person or a place? You love to travel. Where is a place that has impacted your family?
So interesting because it's where we're living
I
right
know.
now.
We chose to live here in Dana Point in Southern California because of, I know that most people are like, because of the weather, the beach, the ocean, but really we chose to live here because of the community and the people here.
Mm.
And that it was just so clear that this is where we were
That's awesome.
to be. And actually, and like Peter was saying, like holding things lightly, we're also open to like just being wherever the Lord wants us to go. Like we're not tied to anything,
No.
I think, tightly ever.
Yeah.
So
But in this season, this place has been such a blessing to
Yeah.
us. And it's interesting because we move here and I just kept joking. I'm like, man, the kids, are they going to look back and be like, this is when dad screwed it all up? Like, why did he move us here? And it's cool because it hasn't been. It's been like the kids are thriving. We're thriving. We've built but just a massive community here. I just came from a men's meetup that we started. Me and a friend started 2.5 years ago. There's 5 of us. They're at 110 now.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so it's just like, okay, do we need any more evidence that this is where we're supposed to be, at least for this chapter? I don't think so. And so this place has been immensely powerful. Plus, Melissa always jokes that she just wanted to move here because she liked being married to California Peter.
It's true. It's true.
So
Word short, Peter.
But maybe you want to be married to Hawaii Melissa.
maybe. You never know.
Or, I mean, you guys grew up snowboard. I mean, that's how your relationship, snowbirding.
Snowbirding,
So
yeah.
that's how your relationship started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You're not
moved back
escaping
and
the
forth.
snow anymore in California.
I think you should tell them about the book too, about Faulty Brennan. What's it called?
Grace Outpouring.
Oh, the Grace Outpouring.
Yeah, it's another book on just miracles, and it's a place over in England that is just it's about modern day stories of miracles that are happening. And so another story of faith that's been really impactful and powerful to me. I will mention one other thing, and it's not a place or a person or a book, but it's a planner. Now I'm on my 6th one. It's called the Legend Planner. And so my 6th year using that. And the tool is probably not as important as the habit and the ritual of it, but like understanding who it is that you want to be. And so it has some prompts in the beginning. I should get affiliate dollars for all these that I've sold. But like, the prep for the prep sections of the planner are like, what brings me joy and good feelings in life? What am I most passionate about? What would I do if money wasn't an issue? What is most important in my life? What are my personal core values? What do I want to give back to this world? How do I want to be remembered when I'm gone? So on and so forth. And it's cool because then you go through your year, your quarterly, your monthly, your weekly goals and that sort of thing. But I do a review of it every Monday morning.
Wow.
I actually recorded myself reading it to myself, and I watch that every Monday morning. And it's, again, like a recentering of like, because I won't speak for you, I'll speak for myself. I'm an idiot. I forget stuff. I forget why I'm working towards things. I forget what the goals are. I forget why I'm excited about it. I forget why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And so when I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. These are the things that are important to me.
I love that.
And it's just, and every Monday morning it's zoom out of being like, okay, yes. And you're constantly just recentering on that. And so this has been hugely impactful for me. It goes with me everywhere. And I should remember. And then I look at my quarterly, monthly, weekly goals every single day. And it's just one of these things. And the 2 older kids have them. They're not as diligent, but they're getting there.
I have one too, and I'm good.
You have one. You're getting there. You're getting there. You're getting there. She's the artist in the family, right?
But the thing about it, though, about the just planning too, I just think about it like I never stopped to dream or think about these things when I was younger, or even when my children were small, because you're just so in it and overwhelmed, and so it's been a real, like, it's been really cool to sit down and think about these things now. And I wish I would have done them earlier. So the prompts are really cool. So even if you weren't into the Legend Planner, but if you have like prompts to ask yourself, ask yourself those questions, and then share them with your spouse or people that are important to you, so you can like dream together and support each other and remind each other.
I'll say something real quick on that too. I do a lot of discovery calls with potential clients, and I had a friend of mine. He's like, "Hey, so what disqualifies somebody?" And I'm like, I was like, when I have these conversations and you key in on the fact they have no vision, and it blows me away. I don't know about you guys, how many people you talk to, and you're like, "Well, what are you dreaming about? What do you
Yeah.
want?" And they're like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know? Like, how?"
Yeah.
You're driving your car and you're going cross country and your navigation's just off.
Yeah.
That would be so.
Yeah.
I just had panic attack.
I
I
mean-
rely on GPS.
Yeah.
Well, that like just goes back into like your coaching stuff that you're doing, because in what we do in our homeschool too, we teach the kids to know yourself, to lead yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a giant principle too.
Yeah.
But like you have to flesh out these things in your mind
Oh,
and
man.
put them down on paper so that you can know things about yourself too. Like and you can't actually grow or even have people help you. Like you might be seeking help, but how can somebody help you when you don't know yourself or know things about what you want?
What you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right. The prompts, I mean, no matter what it is, I don't care what the tool is. It's
Yeah.
just like taking the time to ask the questions, thoughtfully respond, and then reviewing it frequently.
Yeah, because it's in there. It's in
Yep.
there, you know?
And I think a lot of this stuff is things that we hear, like you guys are similar to us. We go through a lot of coaching. We've got coaches for everything, it seems like. And we're in accountability groups with other people, and we're all talking about this stuff, and everyone's doing that. But that's not the norm. That's not what most people probably do.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
think you're right. Like if you don't know where you're going, then any road will do, right? Isn't that the
Mhm.
Cheshire Cat thing?
Yes.
But taking that back, because you guys, I do want to kind of wrap this up because I know I want to be respectful of your time. But you guys dropped so many good takeaways here. What is one sentence that you would whisper to your teenage self if you got to meet them today?
I think I have a word, 2 words maybe. I think I would and this has actually been my word for a little while, but remember. Like, I feel like we've talked in this, like our conversation has been a lot about we forget things. We're just like, that's our nature because we're so busy in this culture to just forget things that are important, forget about people, forget about priorities. It's just so easy to check out and escape and just like be in all the noise. But like, I just feel like if I could tell myself, just remember God's goodness, remember his miracles, remember all the things that he's done for you, remember all the good things, all the goodness in people. And I think that it helps, and it would help me stay anchored, to remember those things. Cause the second you start forgetting is when you just feel lost, really. And I feel like the Lord spoke remember to me probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And then recently, so I'm telling my older self this, I guess, is know, like know who you are, pursue the knowledge of the Lord, know the Lord. Um, and that's where your strength will be. So remember and know.
It's good.
Those are my
Man, I think for me, it is more about the frenzy in which I operate.
frenzy.
And so again, like thinking about mornings and setting the stage for the week, like I just talked about, is taking the time to slow down for a minute and just be, just like, there's I think it's a Macklemore song. I quoted this to somebody yesterday. I don't know why it keeps popping up in my head. He's like, I wish they would have told me that these were the good old days.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, just chill out, man. Like always going 100 miles an hour, wanting everything to be done yesterday. If you've read Gap in the Gain, like living in the gap constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, dude, just be, man. It's all right. You're fine.
Mhm.
It's fine. It's okay. And so I think that there's a hesitation for that with people that are driven because you're like, oh, I'm going to lose my edge though. They're like, no, you're not. You know, it's probably going to happen. You're going to stop going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
go
You
really,
don't
really
even have a
fast
chance
and work on
to
the
look.
wrong thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
That's good. And
So
even just with like couples, I would say out there, like younger couples, like just be together.
Mm.
I wanted to mention when you asked about habits that we have together, or that keep our marriage strong, um, is like we we don't have time where we're apart. We just are together and we're just being and we're sharing. So I think that I'll just speak to this really quick because I recently talked to some young girls about this, and they're new in marriage, and they're already feeling like separation with their spouse. And a really awesome pastor told us about, he had said you need to have time every day to connect, because if you're not speaking about the little things, then it's going to be impossible to speak about the big things, and the big things are what creates separation. So you always have to be just in communication with each other, checking in every day, like several times a day, really, for us. But it's just something I think that we take for granted in our season, and you just have to make it a priority, really, when you're new in marriage or when you have small children or a lot of distraction in your life.
Yeah, I like that. So what's next for both of you besides Peter slowing down and getting Maui Melissa back? What do you foresee on the upcoming future for you both?
Man, you want to go?
Yeah, for me, I've just been working with a lot of young moms and birthing moms, and I've just been, I don't know, equipping myself and listening to the direction God has that for me. I don't actually know what it looks like, really, because, well, I guess how it happened was I was praying about when the kids were going into high school, what high school would look like for us and how we would do that. And that's when the Lord kind of asked me to pursue things, like say yes to things that he brings to me, instead of, because I can be protective of my time with the kids, and a little closed off sometimes because I'm trying to protect that. But he said, say yes and bring the kids along with you. So over the last like 2 or 3 years, the Lord has invited me into mentoring these moms. It started off, I guess, two of the moms in our group are having their second babies now. They were pregnant when they had asked a few of us moms to mentor them. And so, yeah, I said yes to that. Yeah. And it was really sweet because it looked like my kids coming along with me and being with the small children in the group. And then now I am a mentor through our church in a mom co. So I have about 8 girls at my table that I'm mentor and talk to them about things. So I'm just in a season of saying yes to where the Lord leads me. And it has been an amazing experience to do that with the kids and bring them along.
Man, for me, it's just full steam ahead on Whitestone and coaching Christian businessmen and growing that practice, and just kind of figuring out what exactly God has for us as far as how this is supposed to look and how it's supposed to grow and how it's supposed to morph. And so I am going more slowly and methodically on this project than I have on anything I've ever worked on. And what's really cool about that is that I'm realizing some of my frenzy was a uncertainty of whether I was working on the right thing.
Mm.
So realizing like, no, I'm going to work on this in some form or fashion for the rest of my life. There's no haste. Like I just continue to morph and grow. It's not a big deal. And again, I don't want to go 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. I've done that before. It doesn't feel good. Because you realize like, wait a minute, I just made a lot of progress, but now I'm out in the desert and this place sucks. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to go slow. I want to be driving slow in the right lane like an old man and just making sure that I'm going the direction God wants for us. And so it's going to be looking something like what we're doing right now. And there's going to be iterations and changes in delivery and fulfillment and marketing, but it'll still be the same basic ingredients.
I love that. That's so cool. As we finish up here, where can guys connect with you or ladies connect with you? Obviously Whitestone, but what are the best ways for everyone to get in touch with you?
And so for me, it's just peter@whitestonecoach.com. If you want to shoot me an email, you can follow us on social, Whitestone Coach, really everywhere. And they can reach out and engage. We've got a leader guide that they can download on the website if they want to get some 5 tips download, and also just get on our email list and stay in contact there. They can also text Whitestone to 55444, and that'll be an easy way for them to opt in. but I'm happy to engage any way that I can. I jokingly say that I talk to people for a living. So if they want to chat, I'm up
What a
for
great
it.
job.
I know.
I
And
love
you're
it.
so good at it.
So good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You have this
good.
voice. You have such a great voice for podcasting. Like, I feel like I could just sit here and just like lean in all day.
That's what people always say.
And face. He forgot face.
Yeah. I have a face for radio for sure, is what Mike just said. He said, you got a face for radio. Thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you so much, you guys. We really
Yeah.
appreciate your time, and Melissa saying yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
We
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it, and we really hope you guys get back out to Maui.
We will. We will. It is on the horizon for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Love
guys.
you
Thanks for your
guys
time.
so
Thanks for
much.
having us.
Thanks for being part of the family today. If you want to see more of our journey through our personal life, businesses, and adventures, give us a follow on Instagram at Our Family Invests.
If you like this podcast, share this episode with a friend. And if you really want to support us, we would be so grateful if you would leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Your review helps us to reach a bigger audience and bring on more amazing guests. Thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate you.